Hi, my name is Krizia and welcome to my channel. So something you really need to know about me is I'm a cover snob, a hopeless romantic for covers. Buying a beautiful cover on impulse is like the only time I'm spontaneous. One of the only times. For example, the book A Tale, what's it called? I think it's called A Tale for Time Being, or A Tale for a Time Being, is such an amazing cover, but I DNF'd it twice. But the other day I was considering buying it again just because of the beautiful cover, even though I've literally DNF'd it twice. I'm gonna make this a series, so this one will be super short and sweet. This is gonna be 3 books that were done dirty by their ugly covers. And when I say ugly, that's super harsh. I just mean that the world of book cover design is so competitive. There are just some covers that are so beautiful that are works of art in themselves. Like I would hang a poster of that art. So when you see a lackluster cover, or one that just is kind of dated, or it's just not so easy on the eyes, and especially if it doesn't correctly portray the content of the book, that just really irks me. I call me a snob, I don't know. So the first book is In Some Other World Maybe by Sherry Goldhagen. I have never heard anybody else talking about this book. I just found it on sale at my local thrift store, and I was pleasantly surprised by this book. I feel like I gave it like a 3.5. Maybe more like a 3.75. I think it's told from between 3 and 5 perspectives. I'm not remembering correctly, but it is about a group of 20-somethings, and they are all loosely connected by their involvement or their fandom in this sort of fictional movie graphic novel franchise that's, I feel like it's kind of like a Marvel type thing, but it's fictional. It just shows how they become connected. Like one of the people is an actor in the franchise, and one of the girls, I think she maybe works at a movie theater that plays it, and another girl is like a huge fan of the graphic novels and she runs away in order to see the movie. And there's all these other connections, and it just kind of brings everybody together in the end. And I think this is a really strong read. It was really fast to get through. It was well crafted. The character development was good. It was just a really fresh surprise. But this cover is just all wrong for it. It's so deceptively cheery because the book is fairly tense, depressing, kind of not happy at all, really. So when I saw this cover, what I was expecting was sort of like a bunch of sassy banter between like some people who live in the city, but in no way would I expect that this is a hard-hitting contemporary, which that's what I would call it. It falls a little bit shy of some of the more serious tones of some of the hard-hitting contemporary I read, but there are a lot of serious elements in this. I would expect this to, just by looking at this cover, I would expect that this would be about friendship, and maybe there's like a competition or a workplace thing or a vacation or something. Like this cover just in no way represents this book. It's so frustrating. This book was very memorable. I think I read it about 5 years ago, and I still remember a lot of the feelings and the tone and the relationships and the tense conversations and the world building as much as you can for fiction. So this poor book, the cover did not do it justice at all. The next book is I Crawl Through It by A.S. King. And I feel like you've probably heard of A.S. King. She is a YA author that does things very differently. A lot of her works are very surreal, very experimental. Probably the most popular one you've heard of is Dig, which came out a couple years ago. I absolutely love her writing. I think I've just read Dig and I Crawl Through It, and part of Marvin Gardens, her middle grade, which I did not mean to DNF. I just had to turn it back to the library. But I absolutely adore her writing, and I can't wait to get my hands on more of it. This is probably my favorite one, and this one is not for everybody. This is a completely surreal story about several high schoolers that are about to take their SATs. So, I mean, I guess this cover technically thematically works because it shows like A, B, C, D, like check the number for the answer on the SAT, but that's so boring compared to what the story is about. When I say about, it's just because the plots and the characters are so surreal that it's hard to pin down what it's about. It's about the complex feelings and imaginations of 5 teenagers that live their lives very out of the box. I adore it. It's very, very strange. You have no idea what's going on, but it leaves so much to your imagination, and it is extremely memorable. I read it about 2 or 3 years ago, and it still stuck with me. I really want to reread it. Editing Krizia here. I did a legitimately atrocious job at explaining what I crawl through it was even about. So I'm just going to read the synopsis. 4 talented teenagers are traumatized, coping with grief, surviving SA, facing the anxiety of standardized tests and the neglect of self-absorbed adults, and they'll do anything to escape the pressure. They'll even build an invisible helicopter to fly far away to a place where everyone will understand them, until they learn the only way to escape reality is to face it head on. So yeah. But this cover, it's just so, it's bland, it's too to the point, it doesn't reflect the wild imagination in this book. The font looks kind of dated. The colors are very muted. There's nothing very inspiring with the composition here. Dig was an amazing cover, and I'm so sad that I Crawl Through It didn't get something similar to it. I really hope that they do a refresh cover on this, because this is one of the worst offenders on this short list. It's just kind of heartbreaking, honestly. A better cover would have striking colors. It would have a daring composition, like an edgy but contemporary, bold typography element to it. I feel like A.S. King's covers are so all over the place, like different people are designing them, because her new book that's coming out, I think maybe later this year, early 22, is I want to say it's called Flip. And the cover is cool, but I just feel like it doesn't represent her colorful, dreamlike, spectacular writing. The next book is Notes from My Captivity by Kathy Parks. And this is one of my favorite books of all time. This was such a surprise. I think I just kind of heard it floating around on the outskirts of Goodreads and maybe a couple people's booktube videos about 3 years ago. This is about a teenage aspiring journalist who goes with her researcher stepfather, I believe, to the mountains of Siberia to track a rumor that there is a nomad family living there that everybody is very fascinated by, but she totally doesn't believe that it's real. She just really wants to get a good story. She's kind of not a great character, kind of using her stepfather's connections, but the character development in this is incredible. The world building is amazing. The adventure is great. The pace is so wonderful. It made me sob at the end. I was not expecting that whatsoever. There's a romance element to it that is very difficult to describe, and this book is not going to be for everybody. I think it really takes a stretch of the imagination to make it work for you, but it just clicked for me. And yet again, with all my 5 stars, it was highly memorable, and I really want to return to it. So my issues with this cover is just that it's very cute. This cover is really cute. But if you look closely, we've got the girl design, and she just looks like she might write for a fashion blog. There's nothing wrong with that, but this girl has, that's just not her vibe. Like, she's wearing hiking boots in the mountains, like getting her hands really in the dirt to get this good story. And this little drawing, it's very, very cute, but it just looks like somebody who's very sort of prim and proper and not at all the gritty character of Adrian. I also have a problem with the fact that the trees with the little lines through it, kind of, to me, that feels like a accomplishing my bucket list by traveling kind of vibe. Like, it's not, I guess you could say, like a jagged black line shows a little bit of edginess, but to me it just does not work perfectly for the dangerous, sad element of the book. And don't get me wrong, the book is humorous the entire time. The tone is not serious the entire time. But the book cover needs to reflect that it has a hard-hitting element to it, and this cover just doesn't do it. This is the one on the list that I'm not as mad at because it's a really cute design. It's just missing the mark for selling the book to the person who might really enjoy the elements and the tone and everything. I feel sad because I feel like I do not really see people talking about this book, and I adored it. If they re-released it with a really vibrant cover that's maybe something kind of like the simplistic but very effective cover of Sadie, or, you know, something like Nina LaCour's We Are Okay and Hold Still, those two covers, or maybe something like the cover of The Mirror Season by Anna Marie McLemore. Like, that is so moody and magical, but it shows that it's a beautiful story with an emotional element. That would be so amazing. I really hope that they revamp this cover. All right, so that's it for now. I really want to make this a series because I have a huge list of these. This also works as recommendation video. I recommend all of these. The only reason I'm doing this is because I feel kind of passionate about the fact that these pairings of the story and the cover just don't work, and they make me sad because I really want more people to read these books. So anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.